Today I'll be talking about the importance of having sufficient muscle for you to sustain optimal health and also to increase longevity. I'm talking about anti-aging benefits of building muscle and having a great health span as we age, so that we can remain actually vibrant and mobile well into our 80s and 90s, right? And not be bedridden or plagued with any other ailments. This is also a follow-up to a video that I did a couple of weeks ago that was titled, "Are You Getting Enough Protein?" And I'll be discussing in more detail why protein, the right kind of protein, is so important. All right. So again, I am Tommy Pichardo, the KetoRockStar, and as a transformational health coach, I educate on food and nutrition to help you to learn how to eat better so you can look better and feel better, especially as we age. All right. So for the past 6 years, I have been utilizing these very same concepts and principles that I'm going to be discussing with you. Not only to lose body and belly fat, I was obese at one time, but also how to increase my energy, vitality. I was able to increase my testosterone levels naturally, so you don't have to use the patches and gels and the exogenous testosterone, which is all not that great. So, again, these are the things that I've also utilized, and I'm continuing to learn. I learned some new things as I was preparing for this video about muscle and how it pertains and how important it is for longevity. All right, let's get into it. The problem that we face today is that with the modern diet that's so full of massive amounts of glucose, and that's via the carbohydrates. We eat way too many carbohydrates, which is causing a lot of disease. I'm talking like type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, obesity, overweight, and various other type of ailments, all right? Dementia and Alzheimer's as well, also known as type 3 diabetes, right? Too much sugar in the brain. And so it's really wreaking havoc with our health and wellness and our lifespan, our health span as well. We're living longer, but we're not healthier as we live longer. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting ready. I'm heading toward the 70s. I'm in my mid 60s, and I want to be, vibrant and healthy when I'm in my 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. So a lot of things that I learned, I teach and want to share with you as well. All right. So basically, muscle is also the primary form that glucose is sucked out of our system, right? Which helps in the production of fuel for the body. Muscle is responsible for about 80% of glucose disposal. That's how we get rid of most of the sugar. Basically, what glucose is out of the body, and that's why. Today, we have a situation where most people are under muscled, all right? More than ever, we need adequate muscle on our bodies, all right? So here's a fun fact that during a famine, the people who are the fittest and have the most muscle are the ones that are more likely to survive, all right? Just to share with you how important it is to have muscle, all right? So why is it so difficult to build muscles as we get into our 50s, 60s, and 70s and beyond, right? That's a good question. Well, it takes physical energy and effort. Also, it is an expensive nutrient process. And what I mean by that, it requires a host of things to be right. Hence, you have to have the correct building blocks as well, such as having sufficient muscle damage and then sufficient rest for it to rebuild. All right. Then the more trained you are, right, the more time you've been working out, it also is more difficult to continue building muscle. And as we age, it becomes even more difficult to build muscle. Aging is a process that, as we age, things become even more difficult to process, right? For example, and also building muscle is going to be very challenging for you. So I want to mention that one of the things to consider in our diet, especially as we age, as we get into our 50s, 60s, and 70s, is that we need to eat for muscle health so that we do not lose muscle. There are various things, components to muscle building that we need to get enough of, which are not being met with the standard American diet, right? Sad, which is very sad, all right? Uh, there are 20 amino acids, very important to build muscle. 9 are essential, and if our diet is not receiving these amino acids in proper amounts, it is adversely affecting muscle growth, right? So you have to eat high quality protein in order to develop muscle. Now, what is high quality protein? Today, with all the craze about plant-based meat and plant-based protein, well, that the truth of the matter is that animal protein is high quality protein. All right. Uh, so, here's the thing. So, imagine this, if our diet sucks and we're not getting enough animal protein, which is about 70% of the population, and if we're not getting enough protein, more specifically amino acids, the necessary amino acids, this leads to being frail and incapacitated, right? Or confined to a wheelchair. Um, and also can limit our motion and activities as we approach our 60s, 70s, and 80s and beyond. Also muscle is a nutrient sensing organ, and foods are a signaling molecule. The muscle is listening to the signals that the food we eat is sending, right? It also determines if there's an adequate amount of protein, specifically the branched chain amino acids. Also, as we age, the ability to sense those decreases, all right? And so this is why we lose muscle, leading to sarcopenia, which is age-related muscle loss. And actually, this starts to begin, believe it or not, as we reach age 30. All right, so this starts as early as in your 30s. You begin to lose as much as 3 to 5% per decade, leading to decrease in muscle function, muscle strength, and muscle mass. All right. However, studies have shown that sarcopenia can be reversed. Right? How so? Well, the loss of muscle mass is for the most part reversible with resistance and weight training. Right? Getting to the gym. More important, more than ever, more than when you were in your teens, 20s, and 30s, getting to the gym and doing resistance and weight training is even more important in our 50s, 60s, and 70s. All right? So, studies show that this can be reversed. The sarcopenia can be reversed by doing resistance and weight training. It's the best way to rebuild muscle and to decrease muscle loss, right? And also, real important is that we do a healthy diet uh, with sufficient protein. This is where the problem lies, is that we're not getting sufficient quality protein. Remember, animal protein. And this is, we want to make sure, because animal protein has the required amino acids that make up the building blocks for the muscle protein synthesis to occur. In other words, to grow muscle, where your plant-based proteins do not have adequate amounts of amino acids. So this is why the animal proteins is a much better form of protein for building muscle. All right. The other thing is that the general population doesn't have a good muscular foundation, and less than 5% of adults get 30 minutes of physical activity every day, right? So what's happening today with the information and the so-called educational documentaries that we see about the plant-based proteins and everything? Well, there's a lot of information that's misinformation, actually. And this is not only happening in the food industry, it's actually happening in all areas, believe it or not. All right. So, some of these things are designed to make people do things that many times are incorrect, or to make them go along with the agenda. For example, the food industry, the medical industry, and pharmaceutical companies want you to believe or consume things that benefit profits instead of facts. All right. So, now more than ever, it is your responsibility to learn and find out for yourself about anything that you're interested in. And when it comes to food and nutrition and health, do not take anything at face value just because some so-called expert is saying so, right? You must do your own due diligence and go deeper. Don't just go to Google in 5 minutes. Oh, I got the information. Because believe it or not, Google sometimes spits out information that's not totally correct. All right. So that's exactly what I did to reverse my obesity, high blood pressure, low energy, low testosterone levels. I was able to raise my testosterone levels over 500 points naturally. Right now, I'm not saying that to impress you, but to impress upon you what can be accomplished with the right information, right? As long as you do your due diligence to learn about these things. Here's the other thing too. I quote Alvin Toffler many, many times because I was so profound when I heard it, and it's so true that today, the illiterate person of today is not the person who cannot read and write. No, the illiterate person of today is the person who's not willing to learn, unlearn, and relearn. I found that to be so true because so much information also is antiquated. I was a physical education major in college eons ago, but that information is obsolete today. I'm talking about this is over 40 years ago, right? So, you have to be constantly learning and relearning and unlearning the old crap, the information that's not relevant, all right? So, but basically, getting back to plant protein versus animal protein, today's narrative is that plant and animal protein are the same. Definitely not. Definitely not. As I mentioned earlier, the amino acids in animal protein are not equal to plant protein. You have to consume way much more plant protein to get the same amounts of amino acids for a lesser amount in the animal protein, right? So basically, the other thing is about the plant-based is way better for you. Again, this is a marketing ploy to sell you for their own benefits, for their profits, and not for your best benefit. Right? And again, amino acids are not the same for plant and animal proteins. Besides, what they're doing with many of the plant-based proteins, which are processed and sometimes even ultra-processed, so they're adding all kinds of crap, really, that's causing all kinds of metabolic diseases, right? This is why America is getting sicker and sicker, and health deterioration. I want to share a story with you. I had a roommate, and she was in her 50s, mid-50s, and this is about, well, now it's almost 5 years ago, but I just want to illustrate something. She became a vegan, and she was nice and vibrant and healthy, and long story short, after the lease was up, we went separate ways, moved out, and I didn't see her for a long time. It was about 2.5 years later when I did see her. I could not believe what I was seeing. This woman had aged about 10 years. It was unbelievable. Very, very thin, frail looking. Her hair, she had nice hair at one time. It was thinned out. Even she was complaining about her hair. Why she didn't understand why her hair is not as vibrant and full as it was. And to me, that had to do with not getting animal protein since she had made a switch and became vegetarian. Again, with vegetarian, the amino acids and the proteins are totally different. You have to do a lot of supplementation to maintain, a nice, healthy appearance. But again, I advise you to do your own research into that. Don't take my word for it, as I mentioned, right? So that's my story about not the plant protein versus animal protein. All right. The thing is also the role of having sufficient muscle is living a long life, right? I'm talking about longevity, which is a passion of mine. And anyone who knows me well, they say, Tom, I always tell people I want to live to be 120 years old, and people laugh at me. Well, because I'm thinking that I want to live have a long health span, but not also live long, but I want to be healthy. be able to, walk and not have to be on in a wheelchair and be able to, dress myself and do everything that I do now, basically, right? So that's the key that having sufficient muscle is so important. People don't really realize that. That's why I said that in your 50s, 60s, and 70s, you really need to do resistance training, weight training, get into the gym. Or you don't have to be a gym. As long as you have some weights at home, you got to do resistance training to maintain and not lose muscle and actually build muscle. You really need more muscle. Um, so, the question begs, how do you want to age? Do you want to be frail and weak and have people have to carry you around? I know that ain't what I want to do. So, and be careful about what information that you're utilizing. It doesn't matter if it's from doctors, nutritionists, healthcare providers, since many are recommending antiquated information, and also they're using cookie cutter approaches to treating people. They're giving people the same, when, everybody's different. Sometimes you have to tweak things. Some people can't handle certain things, foods that they consume, so you have to come up with alternatives and learn about that. So, also today, many doctors and healthcare practitioners are actually recommending intaking less protein. Can you imagine that? And this is why, they're advising against eating red meat, right? And implementing vegan or vegetarian diets. And going more plant-based foods, right? And many other recommendations that hinder the intake of quality proteins, which is detriment to building and preserving muscle. The latest studies are suggesting that this is not good advice, all right? It can actually cause you to be frail and interfere with your mobility and movement capacities, right? So this is why we require more protein, which is actually quality amino acids to enable us to perform optimally into our golden age. And the quality amino acids are in the animal proteins, all right? So the notion that we have to reduce the amount of protein is having a greatly negative effect on our longevity. Having adequate protein also ensures that you will have the strength to pick yourself up in the event that you fall. I had a situation not that long ago, a couple months ago, where I was walking in the hallway, and an elderly woman, she was in her 80s. She actually tripped and fell, hit her head, bumped her head, split her head wide open, bleeding everywhere. And I happened to be there, thank God, because she couldn't get up. So I asked, do you need help? Can I help you? And she said, yes. I said, I need to get up. I can't get up. And I had to help her get up off the floor. So, you want to be in a position that you can, do that yourself in your 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. God willing, if you live, a good long life. So, I saw firsthand about that. So, protein is so important. The thing about protein, here's a couple of tips. I'm going above and beyond. I wanted to keep the video not too long, but I think we can keep it within 20 minutes, hopefully. The amount of protein that you need that's required safely is 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of ideal body weight. So, for example, if you're 150 pounds, 150 grams of protein is what you would need to consume. It's pretty hard to do. You really got to be very intentional on doing that. You can reach out. I can share different tips, or maybe I'll do another study on that, how to to achieve that. The other thing is, as we age, even if you are consuming 150 grams and you're 150 pounds, as we age, again, someone like me, 65 years old, where our bodies are not utilizing it. So, in that reality, we need to consume more protein, more like 200 grams of protein, so that we can get maybe 150 grams of protein worth absorbed into our bodies, because things are not functioning like they were when we were 25. All right, so that's important. So protein is very, very important. But in any event, I just want to say, if you found value in this information, to please like and subscribe to the channel. I share videos all the time, at least every week. Um, you know, uh, to help you get healthier and feel better and look better, right? And also share it with your friends, okay? And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And this is some of the things that I do, and will continue doing. This is my passion. All right, Tommy Picharo, Keto Rockstar. We'll talk to you guys soon.